The outside-in principle is one of those things that, let's be honest, doesn't sound particularly interesting, right? But if you do any kind of customization to your website beyond just picking a main brand color or using the default fonts that come with Thrive Theme Builder and Thrive Architect, then I think you will find the outside-in principle to be quite useful and a huge time saver. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can use the outside-in principle to customize on-page elements. These are very specific things that I think you'll find helpful once you start actually putting your own content into a page or post. Let's dive in. Hi there, I'm Christine with Thrive Themes, and in previous videos we explored how to use the outside-in principle to customize the fonts as well as the colors on your website. Today we'll be looking at how to style typography on pages or posts that use a theme template. Then we'll go over how to style typography on standalone pages. Then we'll look at how to style all the text elements within a container. Next we'll go over how to align elements within a container. We'll also go over a ninja tool for styling groups of elements. And finally, we'll go over a couple of tips for styling for mobile devices. Now, it might be helpful if we do a bit of review before diving into all of those topics. I've covered the difference between pages and posts that use theme templates and standalone pages in previous videos, and we've also talked about container structure before as well, so I won't go too in-depth today. We'll just do a super quick refresher. So one of the key things to remember as you build your website is that every published page on your website either uses a theme template or it doesn't. There isn't a formal name for pages or posts that use a theme template, so I'll simply keep saying pages or posts that use a theme template. But pages that do not use a theme template are called standalone pages, which are also known as landing pages. Now, what exactly is a theme template? Theme templates are used for groups of pages that you want to have the same structure overall. So, for example, if you want your about and contact pages to have the same header and footer, you would use a theme template for that. For pages and posts that use a theme template, the theme template is responsible for the header, the top section, the sidebar, bottom section, and footer of a post or page. While the content portion comes from your blog post entry or your individual page entry. So what people see published on your website is actually an amalgam of those two things, the theme template and the individual post or page entry. So for pages and posts that use a theme template, it's important to start by customizing the theme template first, and then customize your blog post content or page content second. And in practice, what that means is, for example, with blog posts, you'll set up the default post theme template when you design the rest of your website, and then you probably won't touch it again. And then every time you write a new blog post, you'll just check to make sure that you're using the right theme template, but you'll stick to formatting just the content section of the post. Now, standalone pages, these are useful when you want to create a page that is structurally or stylistically different from the other pages on your site. It's not going to be part of a group of pages. So for example, a standalone page would be great for a long-form sales page or a lead generation landing page. With these types of pages, you might want to omit your normal header, or you might want to use a specific set of colors. So a standalone page would be ideal. So now that we've covered the difference between pages and posts that use a theme template and standalone pages, let's move on to the outside-in principle. The outside-in principle states, when applying the same styling to multiple elements, apply the styling to the parent container of those elements, starting from the biggest container and working your way inwards to the smallest container. In general, smaller containers override larger containers. In previous videos, we already talked about container structure. What's important to remember is that the container structure for pages and posts that use a theme template is slightly different from that of standalone pages. For pages and posts that use a theme template, you would start by making customizations at the theme level, then you would customize your theme templates, then move on to customizing sections of a page, then you would customize individual elements. For standalone pages, you would start at the theme level, but since standalone pages don't use a theme template, you would instead make customizations at the standalone page level, then make customizations at the section and individual element levels. So those are the basics. Again, if you would like a more in-depth explanation, then I would encourage you to view the 2 previous outside-in videos. With that, let's get into how to use the outside-in principle when styling on-page elements. When it comes to styling typography for pages and posts that use a theme template, it's important to know where the default fonts are coming from. So pages and posts that use a theme template will inherit the typography that was set in the Typography tab in Thrive Theme Builder. You can use the green container lines to select groups of elements and customize them all at once. So right now, everything is selected, and we can customize everything together. You can also select groups of elements, such as all of the headings, and customize all of the headings at once. So now let's navigate back to a page that uses a theme template. To assign a particular heading to a text element, you can simply click on the text element and then navigate to the text element floating bar dropdown and click on the heading that you want. Now, as you're working, you might decide that this heading font or color isn't quite working for you and you would like to change it. In that case, you don't actually need to navigate all the way back to the Typography tab. You can simply update the default fonts right from this page. So let's say that I want to change the H2 heading. I can do that by simply selecting one of the H2 headings. Then I will style it however I wish. Then I'll go to the floating bar dropdown. I'll select the right heading and then click Update to Match. And there we go. So this will update all of the text elements across my site that use the H2 heading. Now, what if I want to create a new heading or paragraph style just for use within the content section of a particular page or post? In that case, I can create a custom style. Now, custom styles are actually available site-wide, but if you want to note a particular style that's being used just on a particular page, you can do that by naming the style accordingly. So let's create a new custom H2 heading. The first thing you'll need to do is make sure that the text element is assigned the default H2 heading. This is so that the custom style will have the right heading tag. So right now, this is H2 heading, and that's right. So then just style the heading to your liking. Then go up to the text element floating bar dropdown and click the Custom tab, and then enter a new style name and click Save. You'll see that a new style has been added to the custom list. And it has the right tag, and you can assign this to other text elements on your page. Now here's a question you might have. What if I want to edit the styles of all headings and paragraphs for the entire page or post, and only that one page or post, but including the sections that are governed by the theme template? Well, remember, theme templates are generally used so that groups of pages or posts will have the same header, sidebar, footer, etc. So a change to a theme template will reflect on all of the pages that use that template. So because you want to change the styling of elements that are governed by the theme template, we recommend using a standalone page instead. Or if you plan on using the new styling on multiple pages or posts, you can simply create a new theme template. So next, let's look at how to style headings and paragraphs on a standalone page. So when it comes to typography, standalone pages are like their own little islands. Their typography is separate from the rest of your theme templates, pages, and posts. To change the heading and paragraph styles for a standalone page, you can either use the Page Settings Typography tab, or you can use the Text Element Floating Bar dropdown. Let's look at the Typography tab first. So use the breadcrumbs at the top of the page to go to the Page Settings, and then go to the Typography tab and open Edit Landing Page Typography. From there, you can use the green container lines to select all of the elements, or you can select one container inward and select a group of elements, or you can select a single element by clicking anywhere inside of the container. So if you're just starting to set up a standalone page, I would recommend starting your font customizations here, and that's because the containers make it really easy to edit multiple elements at once. And there's also a couple of items such as list items and hyperlinks that can only be formatted from this window. So let me go ahead and make a change here. So when you're finished, you can click Apply and then click the Close button, and then all of the elements on your page will automatically update. Then as you build your standalone page, you can assign headings to text elements using the floating bar dropdown. Simply select a text element and find the right heading. And like with pages and posts that use a theme template, you can update the typography for the page from the floating bar dropdown. So let's say that I want to change my H3 heading. First, I'll make sure that the default H3 heading is assigned, and then I'll style the heading the way I want. So that one is assigned the H3 heading. Let's change this to a different style. Let's give it a color. And then I'll simply click Update to Match. And then all of the H3 headings on the page will automatically update. All right, up next, let's look at how to style all text elements within a container. Sometimes you'll need to change all of the text elements within a container to a different font or color. Instead of selecting each element one by one, you can simply select the container and then apply the customization to the container. And then all of the elements within that container will take on the customization, as long as individual elements have not already been styled, because remember, smaller containers override the larger ones. So on this page, we've specified that the headings and paragraph text are a black color. But in order to create visual separation and interest on the page, let's go ahead and add a background color to this one section. Let's make it a dark red. So now the text is too dark to be readable. Instead of clicking on each individual text element, we can save ourselves a lot of clicking if we simply change the font color for the entire section. So use the breadcrumbs at the top of the page to make sure that you have the right section selected. Then go to the typography color for that section. All right. And don't forget to change your color to save your color as a global color. That way it's easy to change later if necessary. And there we go. So the text in this section is now much easier to read. So next, let's look at how to align all of the elements within a container. So columns like these are pretty common, especially on sales pages and landing pages. As you build a column setup like this, you might be tempted to select each text element and choose the alignment individually. However, you can save yourself a lot of time by simply applying the alignment specification to the columns container. So start by clicking on an element to view the breadcrumbs, and then use the breadcrumbs to select the columns element. And then open the typography tab on the left and select the appropriate alignment setting. Now, what's especially handy about this technique is that any additional elements that are added to the container will automatically inherit the alignment specification. So I've left one column blank just to show you how this works. Let's add a new text element to it. And awesome, you can see that the new text element is aligned just like the others. Now let's look at a really cool ninja tool, as I like to call it. So in practice, not all of the sections on your pages will be as simple to customize as the ones that we've seen so far. What if you have a section like this one, where you have several text elements inside of a background section and you want some to be aligned center and you want some to be aligned left? Because the problem is that if you were to make your alignment specification at the background level, it would affect the background section level. It would affect everything inside of the background section, which we really don't want. To solve this, you can use content boxes. Content boxes are a great way to add structure to your layout when there isn't a convenient container surrounding the elements that you want to customize. And I like to call it a ninja tool because ninjas operate stealthily and you don't really see them coming. Content boxes can be virtually invisible as well. And what I mean by that is that if you were to look at the finished page, you wouldn't know it was there just by looking at it. So since the top half is inside of a columns element, we can apply the alignment specification to the columns container. And then for the bottom half, simply add a content box to your section and then put everything that you want grouped together inside of it. And then you can specify the alignment to the content box. So it's actually already left aligned, but you can see how you can align right, center, or left, and it all moves together. Pretty handy, right? Finally, let's look at how to style elements for mobile devices. So there's two very important guidelines that you need to know about when designing for tablets and mobile devices. The first is that styles cascade down through smaller screen sizes, but not up. So what does this mean? When you begin designing any page or post, it's best if you start with the desktop mode first, because styles applied at the desktop mode will apply to the tablet and mobile modes as well. When you're finished working on the desktop mode, then you can move on to the tablet mode, and working on the tablet mode will also apply to the mobile mode. And then finally, when you work on the mobile mode, know that edits to the mobile mode will only affect the mobile mode. The second important guideline is that inline styling always applies to all modes. So what is inline styling? Inline styling is when you apply a style directly to an individual element. So for example, here we have a 2-column setup inside of a background section. Let's say that we want the text to be aligned left on desktop but center on mobile. Now, if we apply the alignment setting to the actual element, no matter what mode we're working in, that alignment specification will apply to all screen sizes. So if you've ever wondered why you can't apply different alignments to desktop and mobile, that's probably what's going on. Instead, what you can do is apply the alignment specification to the container around the element. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's make sure that the desktop alignment is aligned left, which it actually already is. So we go to columns and we can see that for typography, the alignment is set to the left. And then let's go ahead and switch to the mobile mode. Again, let's make sure that the column is selected and let's switch the alignment to center. So now we can switch between the two modes and we can see that indeed the text is aligned center on mobile and left on desktop. All right, so I hope these tips were useful to you. I think that once you get used to using the outside-in principle, it'll become second nature. And not only is it a huge time saver, but it'll also give you a much better understanding of what's really going on between all of the different templates and pages, and you'll know exactly where to go to make customizations. Now, of course, you can't make customizations like these without the right tools, so if you don't have Thrive Theme Builder yet, be sure to grab it at thrivethemes.com/themebuilder. And as always, if you have any questions about the outside-in principle, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.